listeners, Advocacy Coordinator Tatum here to say thank you for starting your day with our peerless, trusted Progress Texas podcasts. This critical midterm year, you can invest in the largest digital network for Texas progressives by becoming a monthly member for our summer drive. If you haven't joined or increased your gift yet, you can join today at the link in the show notes, and we'll thank you with union-made merch to match your values, plus a shout out on the Daily Dispatch. Thanks in advance for funding the progressive Texas you want to live in today.
I am Carrie Marshall, and I'm a progressive activist. I support Progress Texas because they keep it real and spell it out for us, what's happening in Texas politics, but they make it really fucking fun.
It's Monday, August 17, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. We can't do what we do without your support. Huge thanks to Matthew Wright, Belinda Musgrave, and Lauren Blanton for their ongoing sustaining partnership. So Austin was the sweaty center of the Democratic universe over this last weekend, and one piece of monumental change came as a result on Saturday. Julia Mueller at the Hill says the Democratic National Committee, coming out of their 2026 summer meeting, officially locked in its 2028 presidential primary schedule, cementing South Carolina as the official leadoff state on January 22nd. While South Carolina was placed first on paper in 2024, that cycle featured an uncontested incumbent as well as an unsanctioned New Hampshire primary that physically voted first. The 2028 calendar formalizes the structural shift for a wide-open nomination race. From a broader strategic standpoint, this change forces candidates to immediately prove their viability in a state that reflects general election demographics rather than insular primary bubbles. Iowa and New Hampshire relied heavily on retail politics in small, homogenous markets that often rewarded niche candidates who struggled to appeal nationally. By opening in South Carolina, followed rapidly by Nevada, New Hampshire, New Mexico, Michigan, and Virginia, the DNC seeks to vet its candidates for a broad working-class coalition across the Southwest and industrial Midwest right out of the gate, and provide those candidates with an early stress test for general election readiness. Democratic candidates will no longer be able to rely on single-issue momentum. They'll have to build scalable field operations, demonstrate broad geographic and demographic appeal, and begin the refinement of messaging that can resonate across swing states long before Super Tuesday. South Carolina Democratic Party Chair Crystal Spain was central to this achievement for her state party, and we enjoyed her terrific insight at our live podcast taping on Friday. That's a couple of clicks back on this feed and well worth a listen. This weekend has also been full of footage of heavy industrial machinery cutting into the pristine desert landscape of Big Bend National Park. Despite the outcry of locals of all political stripes, it seems that everybody but elected Republicans are up in arms about it. Max Rigo at the Hill notes that Governor Greg Abbott remains silent on the Big Bend matter, even in the face of a bipartisan call from 44 state lawmakers asking him to swiftly use every available avenue to call on Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security to immediately cease demolition and border barrier construction activities in the national park, arguing that its natural terrain of canyons, cliffs, and harsh desert already serves as an effective barrier, making physical wall construction a multi-billion-dollar waste when modern technology like drones and radar would easily do the job. We refer you back to In Progress from last Tuesday for a rundown on the situation in far west Texas, which as of this morning continues unabated as bulldozers blast through one of Texas's most cherished natural treasures. Governor Greg Abbott remains silent, perhaps hesitant to defy Donald Trump. The natural heritage of the state he was elected to lead and protect be damned. Governor Abbott's Democratic challenger, State Rep Gina Hinojosa, went on record with KSAT-TV in San Antonio last week on the matter. She says, quote, "We need a governor who will stand up for our land rights, property rights, and our sovereignty, and that is not happening. What is happening right now is a travesty for all of us. We know the beauty of the Big Bend region. Those of us who have visited, it takes our breath away, and it is being decimated right now by these federal contractors. I am against that, and I would use whatever power as governor in court to try to stop it," unquote. That and the rest of her interview on the economy, energy, data centers, and more is linked from KSAT in the show notes. As we've said and has been clearly demonstrated, the Republican Party will do whatever it takes to cling to power, and the courts will not save us. Junior Rivas, a Democracy Docket, writes on an unprecedented anti-democratic maneuver by the Galveston County Republican Party that appears to be moving forward, the redrawing of voting maps after their primary has already taken place. Following the March primary, the county adopted new commissioner, justice of the peace, and constable boundaries in June, specifically admitting in court filings that they did so to, quote, increase partisan performance, unquote. And on Friday, the all-Republican Texas Supreme Court more or less signed off on that plan by denying an emergency effort to stop it. Obviously, changing map lines after a primary in the middle of an election cycle undermines basic voter representation, as many Galveston area voters are effectively disenfranchised. They'll now cast ballots in November in districts that differ from those in which they voted this last March, forced to vote on party nominees they never had a chance to select during the primary. And meanwhile, the candidates who won those primaries find themselves relocated into entirely new precincts. In this moment where defeat appears imminent for Texas Republicans, innovation and partisan voter suppression plows forward. Galveston area Democrats, your work just got harder. And now that there's a green light, let's not be shocked if other Texas counties run by panicked Republicans makes the same move in the coming weeks. Back out to West Texas, where suddenly a deeply flawed Republican candidate, no, not Ken Paxton this time, who's been on our radar for months, has finally gotten noticed by legacy media. It would appear several articles over the weekend highlight the highly questionable messaging coming from Brandon the AK guy Herrera, the current Republican nominee, to replace the disgraced Congressman Tony Gonzalez. Bayless Wagner for the New York Times and Matthew Rosa at Ultranet detailed the uneasy alliance that the Republican establishment has stumbled into with Herrera, a 30-year-old anti-establishment candidate with millions of online followers, who was targeted in the run-up to the March primary by those same establishment Republicans who spent heavily to expose his record of offensive remarks, making light of Nazi atrocities, using crude sexualized insults against gun control advocates, and mocking military veterans who died by suicide. Despite this deplorable record, party leadership, including Speaker Mike Johnson, have now embraced this guy in their desperation to hang on to the lean Republican seat representing West Texas's 23rd congressional district. This jacked-up situation presents a window of opportunity for Democratic nominee Katie Padilla-Stout, who offers a center-left alternative to voters in a district that includes Uvalde, parts of San Antonio, and El Paso, who are exhausted by demonstrative political extremism. Katie was a featured speaker at that recent Latinas Regina Hinojosa event we covered in San Antonio last week. See our digital channels to check that out. And finally, for you guys in Tarrant County, and speaking of deeply flawed GOP candidates, an event you might be interested in checking out in person this week, Ultra MAGA Patriot Mobile executive and GOP nominee for the Texas Senate, Leigh Wambsganss, most notably known lately for losing that special election late last year to Union leader and current Texas Senator Taylor Ramett, and now in a rematch with him for the full term this fall, is being featured by the Golden Triangle Rotary in a live talk this Thursday morning at DeVivo Eatery on South Main in Keller at 7 a.m. A few questions you might stand up and ask Leigh if you attend would be, how do you defend the measurable harm you've caused to minority students with Patriot Mobile Action's push to eliminate school diversity plans at Carroll ISD? With that same group's funding of Christian nationalist political campaigns, how do you reconcile commercial activism with the separation of church and state? Having backed candidates who have gone on to ban classroom books across Tarrant County, how do you justify overriding trained educators to enforce political censorship? And there's certainly more the Tarrant County progressives might dream up to ask. Bright and early, 7 a.m. this Thursday, DeVivo Eatery on South Main in Keller, and please do send us the results. This election year, you can support the real free press by investing in pro-democracy, pro-justice, progressive storytelling delivered by Texans for Texans. Join Progress Texas this summer ahead of the midterms and become a monthly donor today, or increase your giving during our summer sustaining donor drive. With your partnership, we can reach more independents, progressives, and young voters who must be mobilized to win elections this fall. And we'll thank you with Perks for Progress, your choice from our exclusive Resist coffee mug, a sweet Progress Texas summer koozie, and a progressive button pack. Plus, you'll get a shout out on the Daily Dispatch. See the link in the show notes or hit progresstexas.org to join the family during our summer sustaining donor drive. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, August 17th, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Learn more about what we do and how you can get involved at progresstexas.org. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day and a great week, and we'll see you again right here tomorrow morning.